Ready?
Yes. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the August 21st, 2025 regular City Council meeting. The time is 6:30 p.m. We'll begin with the roll call. When I call your name, please say here or present. Mayor Maxton,
Here.
Councilmember Stroop,
Here.
Councilmember Roden,
Here.
Councilmember Olvera,
Here.
Councilmember Pearson,
Here.
Councilmember Parker,
Here.
and Councilmember Swarek. With 7 of 7 council members present, a quorum is declared.
Thank you, Amanda. Would everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A reminder to everybody that's here as part of tonight's meeting. Have you heard this before? We do live broadcast the meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody that's here in attendance as part of tonight's meeting, and also welcome all those that are joining us by live broadcast. For those that are here in the City Hall with us, if you do get an opportunity to speak as part of the meeting, I'd ask that all comments be made at the microphone up here at the podium. And the reason for that, if you make comments from your seat, the individuals that are watching by live broadcast cannot hear the comments, so we'd like for them all to be from the podium so everybody can hear what's going on. And when you do get an opportunity to speak, I'd ask that you introduce yourself. And if you're a resident, whether or not you're a Fair Oaks Ranch resident, and if you're with an organization that is here tonight as part of tonight's meeting, just which organization you're here from. We did not have anybody sign up as part of Citizens to be heard tonight. Is there anybody here that didn't get an opportunity to sign up that would like to speak as part of Citizens to be heard? All right, we'll move on to a presentation. We have a special presentation tonight to recognize our Building and Codes Department. Y'all want to join me up here? You're just waiting for me to invite y'all? How about over here? Not behind me, you don't want to. So nationally, September 1st is Building and Codes Appreciation Day. And these appreciation days are not just set aside so that we can recognize, especially the superior people that we have as part of our department, but also to highlight the responsibilities that are bestowed upon them and what they carry out every day. And so as part of our Building and Codes department, we have Hunter Hickman, Scott Davis, and Rachel Brown that make up our department. And tonight I want to take a moment to recognize and honor this group of dedicated professionals who often work behind the scenes, a lot of time behind the scenes, making things happen, but whose impact is seen and felt every single day across the city. And I'll talk a little bit about what that impact is. Their work touches nearly every aspect of our daily lives as part of residents of Fair Oaks Ranch. They review building plans, they inspect new construction, remodels and repairs, and ensure compliance with building codes, zoning regulations, and city ordinances. And the piece that really stood out to me is they stay up to date on evolving standards and get a load of this list of electrical systems, plumbing, mechanical, HVAC systems, fire, life and health and safety, accessibility to buildings, stormwater management, and energy efficiency. And beyond construction, they monitor property maintenance and code enforcement, protecting neighborhoods from hazards and helping preserve the beauty and character that makes Fair Oaks Ranch the special place that we enjoy and we live in today. And they also serve as educators because they work with homeowners, guiding them, builders, and businesses through complex codes and regulations, always keeping safety as the first priority. And it is this highly technical, highly regulated work that requires ongoing training and continuing education. In fact, Hunter just completed your general, I don't know,
Yeah, my residential building inspector,
Yeah.
ICC certification.
just last week.
Yes, sir. 2 weeks ago, last week, 2 weeks ago.
In fact, Hunter started in our Public Works Department in the Maintenance Division
Yes, sir.
and has worked his way up to come over to Building and Codes and continues to work to get the certifications that he needs to help out with this. So many of our residents know Scott Hunter and Rachel personally. A lot of people that I've talked to, if I mention y'all's names, they all say, well, yeah, they know you. They speak, which not only speaks to their visibility and involvement throughout the city, they are visible, but also to the consistent feedback we hear that they are professional, approachable, and they're always a pleasure to work with. And I didn't just write that down, those are true comments that have been given to me. So on behalf of the City of Fair Oaks Ranch, I want to thank our Building and Code staff for their professionalism, their dedication, and the countless unseen ways they protect and enhance our community every single day. And honestly, from the bottom of my heart, we cannot ask for a better team to serve us. And for me, it's a pleasure to serve on your team, so thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And I have a proclamation that we'd like to present to you. On behalf of the City of Fair Oaks Ranch, whereas Building and Code Staff Appreciation Day is celebrated every year on September 1st, and whereas building and code staff are essential not only in the industries in which they work, but also to society, ensuring that buildings and infrastructure are safe for everyday use by our residents, businesses, and patrons. And whereas detailed review of building plans and the inspection process involved to achieve compliance keeps projects running efficiently, which reduces cost and ensures safe structures built in a timely manner. And whereas building and code staff review, inspect, and enforce safe building practices in a variety of construction and critical infrastructure components, including structural, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, fire systems, accessibility, and energy as they apply to housing, commercial buildings, and public works infrastructure. And whereas Building Code Staff Appreciation Day is intended to remind the public about the critical role of our community's code officials, are largely unknown guardians of our public safety. And now, therefore, the Council of the City of Fair Oaks Ranch does hereby designate September 1st, 2025 as Building and Code Staff Appreciation Day. And I do urge all residents and all other members of staff to please reach out to them on September 1st and thank them for what they do every day. We give them a round of applause. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I would.
So I'd like to say, yes, sir. I'd like to say I have a wonderful team, and it's a real pleasure to work with them. I enjoy coming to work every day. They're dedicated to being a public servant and trying their best to serve the citizens of Fair Oaks. So thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you all again.
Thank you very much.
With that, we'll move on to our consent agenda for tonight. We have two items on the consent agenda. First, approval of the August 7th, 2025 regular City Council meeting minutes. And second, approval of a resolution approving the Fair Oaks Ranch Municipal Development District budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026. Is there any council member that would like to remove any of the items from consent to consideration? And with that, could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
From Ruben and a second from Emily. All in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
The consent agenda is approved. Thank you all. For council, I'd like to make a modification to the agenda that we have tonight. We have 3 public hearings scheduled for tonight, and following the first 2 public hearings by the agenda, we have 2 consideration items. What I'd like to do is we'll go through each public hearing, and then the appropriate consideration item related to it. Once we move through that, then we'll move on to the next public hearing. Is everybody okay with that? All right. Move on to our first public hearing tonight, which is a public hearing on a proposed amendment to the comprehensive plan to change the land use classification from rural residential to neighborhood residential for approximately 344.6 acres, generally located north of intersection of Rolling Acres Trail and Ammon Road, and bordered by Ammon Road to the south and the west. And Amanda, I have the time now is 6:40, and I am opening the public hearing. And I'll turn it over to Jessica for the staff presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Maxton. Good evening, Mayor Maxton and council members and colleagues. My name is Jessica Relucio, City Planner for the City of Fair Oaks Ranch. This public hearing is for a proposed amendment to the future land use map, or also known as Flume Amendment, to designate a land use classification for a subdivision known as Post Oak. The subject area is located north of the intersection of Rolling Acres Trail and Ammon Road, also bordered by Ammon Road to the south and west. The amendment is for approximately 344.6 acres. The current land use is rural residential, and the proposed land use is neighborhood residential. In December 2024, staff received applications from Brown and McDonald PLLC on behalf of the property owner BRMK Bernie Ranch LLC for annexation, future land use map amendment, and zoning. On May 20th, 2025, an amendment development agreement providing for 278 single-family residential units with 1 acre minimum lots was approved by the City Council. On June 19th, 2025, public hearings were conducted for the annexation and PID Public Improvement District. On July 3rd, 2025, Council approved the annexation of the subject property. Then earlier this month, on August 7th, 2025, the City Council approved the development agreement amendment to reflect 227 single-family residential units. On August 14th, 2025, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval to City Council to amend the Flume classification. Tonight, August 21st, is a City Council public hearing and consideration of the Flume amendment to align with the development agreement. What is the future land use map classification? The future land use map, or Flume, is contained in the comprehensive plan, which shows the long-term vision for land use and zoning throughout the city. The comprehensive plan was adopted in 2018. It is a living document and is intended to change and adapt with time and circumstance. Local Government Code 213 authorizes municipalities to amend the comprehensive plan, including the Flume, to guide long-range development. Past amendments include the Arbors and Oak Bend Estates. The process includes public hearings and P&Z recommendation to City Council with readings to follow. The current Flume classification of rural residential requires 5 acre minimum lots. The appropriate Flume classification for the subject property is neighborhood residential, which entails 1 acre minimum lots. Therefore, the Flume reclassification to neighborhood residential aligns with the development agreement of 1 acre minimum lots. Also, the applicant's rezoning request to follow in a subsequent agenda item will be in alignment with the Flume classification as well. This is part of the future land use map project site with the current land use designation of rural residential. And here is the proposed future land use map of neighborhood residential. As part of the criteria to review this request, the proposed amendment shall be consistent with the comprehensive plan. The supported comprehensive plan principles, goals, and objectives are as follows. To preserve the suburban and rustic character, and as the city builds out, incorporate greenery, trees, trails, open spaces, to protect water resources, natural resources, and wildlife, and to ensure high-quality construction and infrastructure. Additional criteria for the Flume Amendment request is in the UDC for City Council to consider, which are whether the proposed amendment promotes the health, safety, and general welfare of the city, is consistent with the future land use amendment, is consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan, complies with the Unified Development Code, and other criteria deemed necessary. All public hearing requirements met as prescribed in the Local Government Code and Unified Development Code included a notice of the public hearing in the newspaper. Abutting residents received notice via mail within 200 feet of the property. Signs were posted on the subject property, and the city's website was updated as well. Responses received are provided in the agenda packet for additional information too. Following this public hearing, the City Council will consider the Flume Amendment and act on the first reading of the ordinance. Then following the Flume Amendment agenda items, a public hearing for the Flume designation will be held. City Council will consider and make a motion. Finally, on September 4th, City Council will consider and act on the final reading of the ordinance for Flume and zoning. This concludes staff's presentation, and we're available for any questions. And with the applicant is also here as well.
Did the applicant have anything that they wanted to add as part of this?
Unless there's additional questions and answers that they can provide.
With that, we'll move on to public testimony. We didn't have anybody sign up to provide comments as part of this public hearing. Is there anybody here tonight that didn't get an opportunity to sign up that would like to speak? Jessica mentioned that we did receive 4 public comment forms that were submitted as part of this. Of those, of the 4, 1 was for approval of the update to the Flume, and 3 were against. Of the 3, 2 were anonymous, and then we had a third that did provide comments. And those comments were, given the issues in water availability and cost in Fair Oaks Ranch, what plans have been made to provide water to this planned development? And where is the proposed entrance to the development? To manage traffic on Ammon Road and on Rolling Acres Trail and on Meadow Creek Trail, the entrance should be placed near 3351 on Ammon Road. It should not be placed near the entrance to Stone Creek Ranch for safety and traffic management. Why has this information not been made public? And does the current Fair Oaks Ranch taxpayer or the developer pay for the infrastructure and improvements needed to handle the improvements of the proposed development? Given the impact to density and the impact to traffic and quality of life on Ammon Road and surrounding streets, the original zoning of 5 acres per lot should be kept. And that is all we have for public testimony reference this public hearing. So Amanda, I have the time now is 6:49 and I'm closing the public hearing. And I'll turn it over to council for any questions you may have for Jessica or the developer. Anybody? Everybody's good? All right, with that, then we'll move on to the consideration item, which is item number 9 on the agenda. And this was the realignment that I spoke about earlier at the meeting. And this item is consideration and possible action approving the first reading of an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan to change the land use classification from rural residential to neighborhood residential for approximately 344.6 acres, generally located north of the intersection of Rolling Acres Trail and Ammon Road and bordered by Ammon Road to the south and west. And Jessica, anything else we need to add?
No additional information.
And any questions from council? Any questions from anyone here tonight? Yes, sir. Sir, would you mind using the microphone? Because people that are,
I can speak loud.
well, the people that are watching by live broadcast can't hear the comments. That's why we asked that you use the mic.
Hi, I'm Danny Pena, and I've been a resident here for 32 years, and I'm just wondering if there's any proposed plans to widen that Ammon Road right there where Rolling Acres is and continues on, because it's a pretty skinny road. Does anybody know?
Can we discuss that as part of the,
Is that part of the?
that's an easy answer. So, we passed a road bond last year to reconstruct Ammon Road. And right now, the width of Ammon Road runs, 23, 24 feet, somewhere in that neighborhood. And the proposed width of the reconstructed road is two 11-foot lanes with 2-foot shoulders on each side of the road. So the road would be 26 feet wide. So it will be a little wider than it currently is. Does that answer your question? Perfect. All right. Any other questions? Then with that, could I get a motion to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan to change the land use classification from rural residential to neighborhood residential for approximately 344.6 acres generally located north of the intersection of Rolling Acres Trail and Ammon Road and bordered by Ammon Road to the south and west?
So moved.
Second.
From Dale and a second from Keith. Any other discussion from council? Motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. With that, we'll move on to item number 8, which is our second public hearing tonight, which is on the zoning application submitted by Brown and McDonald PLLC on behalf of the property owner, BRMK, Bernie Ranch LLC, to designate approximately 344.6 acres generally located north of the intersection of Rolling Acres Trail and Ammon Road and bordered by Ammon Road to the south and west as neighborhood residential. And Amanda, I have the time now is 6:52, and I'm opening the public hearing. Jessica, anything else we need to add on this one from the, you have a presentation for this?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening again. My name is Jessica Relucio, City Planner for the City of Fair Oaks Ranch. And this public hearing is for a proposed zoning designation for the Post Oaks subdivision to align with the future land use map classification. The site is the same project that was just covered in the future land use map amendment public hearing. It's 344.6 acres. And the zoning is proposed to be neighborhood residential to align with the Flume neighborhood residential. What is zoning? Following the comprehensive plan, the zoning regulations became effective, which support the goals of the future development and land uses through zoning districts, such as residential, commercial, and logistics. In other words, zoning is a component of the future land use map, and both must align with each other. Past rezones include Oak Bend Estates and the Arbors, and the process requires public hearings and P&Z recommendation to City Council. The appropriate zoning district for the area is neighborhood residential. Here, minimum lot size of 1 acre. Once more, the zoning designation meets the development agreement and the Flume. Here's a zoning map showing that it's currently unclassified or undesignated, and here is the proposed neighborhood residential zoning district. Similarly to the Flume Amendment criteria to review within the comprehensive plan, the proposed zoning shall be consistent with the suburban and rustic character, greenery, trees, trails, open spaces, preserving water resources, natural resources, and wildlife, and ensuring high-quality construction and infrastructure. Additional criteria in the UDC that mirrors the flume with the exception of the compatibility and conformance of nearby uses, and the property affected of the zone change is suitable for the proposed uses as well. As required for a zone change, public notices were complete and mirrored the flume amendment as well, including the newspaper publish. Abutting residents were notified via U.S. mail, and also signs were posted on the property. The city's website was as well updated. Responses are also provided in your city packet of individual responses we have received. The City Council should consider the following in approving the proposed zoning designation, that it's accurate and it reflects the agreed and approved agreement, and also allows the appropriate zoning of the area of neighborhood residential, and it aligns with the UDC comp plan. And also Post Oak proposes 227 home units as opposed to the previous development agreement for the reserve totaling 635 home units. Lastly, following this public hearing, the City Council will consider the zoning request and act on the first reading of the ordinance. Then on September 4th, the City Council will consider and act on the final reading of the ordinance for flume and then zoning. That concludes my presentation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Jessica. And with this public hearing also, we had no one sign up to provide public testimony. Is there anybody here tonight that didn't get an opportunity to sign up that would like to provide comments related to this public hearing? And we did receive, Jessica mentioned it, we received, it was the same 4 public comment cards with the same comments related to this item also. And so it was 1, 4, and 2 or 3 unsupported with the same comments that I read off earlier. And with that, Amanda, I have the time now is 6:57, and I'm closing the public hearing. And I'll turn it over to council if you have any questions that y'all would like to address. Nope.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just a comment on the, this property, 344.6 acres, and with the property, the square footage or the acreage of the property divided by the amount of homes going onto the property comes close to about 1.5 acres as an aggregate. So it's actually a little bit bigger than the, depending on how you look at it, than the rural residential. So I think it's a good project all the way around.
Thanks, Till. Good comment. Anybody else? Then with that, we'll move on to the related consideration item, which is item number 10 on the agenda, which is the consideration and possible action approving the first reading of an ordinance designating the zoning district for approximately 344.6 acres generally located north of the intersection of Rolling Acres Trail and Ammon Road and bordered by Ammon Road to the south and west as neighborhood residential. And Jessica, anything else we need to add for the consideration item?
No additional information.
Any questions from council? Nope. Any questions from anyone here tonight? Then can I get a motion to approve the first reading of an ordinance designating the zoning district for approximately 344.6 acres, generally located north of the intersection of Rolling Acres Trail and Ammon Road and bordered by Ammon Road to the south and west as neighborhood residential.
So moved.
Scott and Jonathan, in that order? Or was it the other way? Okay, Scott made the motion and Jonathan second. Any other comments from council? the motion on the table. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Thanks, Jessica. And now we'll move on to the third public hearing tonight, which is a public hearing on the extension of the Fair Oaks Ranch city limits by annexation of 2.93 acres tract of land located at 329 Ammon Road, Kendall County, Texas. And Amanda, I have the time now is 7 on the nose, and I am opening the public hearing. And do we have a presentation for staff on this? Jessica again?
Yes. Good evening again. My name is Jessica Relucio, City Planner for the City of Fair Oaks Ranch. This item is for a public hearing on the extension of the Fair Oaks Ranch city limits by annexation of a 2.923 tract of land located at 329 Ammon Road. How does annexation work? Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 43, Municipal Annexation, Subchapter C3, Annexation of Area on request of owners, authorizes the City of Fair Oaks Ranch, a home rule city, to annex territory subject to the laws of the state. The Home Rule Charter, Section 2.02, allows City Council to extend and enlarge the city boundaries. Before the city may adopt an ordinance to annex an area under subchapter C3, the city council must conduct one public hearing. The applicant and property owner, the city of Fair Oaks Ranch, Texas, proposes to institute a voluntary annexation proceedings to expand the city's boundary limits and develop an elevated storage tank on the subject property, which is the southern portion right here in the green that I'm circling. The subject area is located within the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction. On April 3rd, City Council approved a resolution authorizing the purchase of the 2.923 acre tract. In accordance with the state statute, the requirements for holding a public hearing ensure that all persons interested in the annexation must have the opportunity to be heard. This means providing public notices of the hearings to include posting on the city's website, publishment in the newspaper, mailing to each school district in the area, and public entities that are within or that service the area. Following this public hearing, City Council will consider and take possible action on the first reading of an annexation ordinance. On September 4th, City Council will consider and take possible action on the second reading of an annexation ordinance. Then on October 9th, 2025, P&Z will hold a public hearing on the future land use map and zoning designation. And then on November 6th, City Council will also hold a public hearing on the future land use map and zoning designation. Then on November 20th, City Council will consider and take possible action on the second reading of the future land use map and zoning designation for this tract. That concludes staff's presentation, and staff's available for any questions.
Thanks, Jessica. It's another public hearing, and we had an opportunity for public comments to be made. As part of this, nobody signed up for this public hearing. Is there anybody here tonight that didn't get an opportunity to sign up for this that would like to speak? And as part of this, we received no public comment cards were submitted to the city. All right. Amanda, I have the time now is 7:04, and I'm closing this public hearing. And I'll turn it over to council for any questions that you may have. Anybody? Okay. With that, then we'll move on to the respective consideration item for this one, which is item number 12 on the agenda. And it's consideration and the possible action approving the first reading of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fair Oaks Ranch, Texas, providing for the extension of Fair Oaks Ranch city limits by annexation of approximately 2.923 acre tract of land located at 329 Ammon Road in Kendall County, Texas, and providing for an effective date. And Jessica, anything else we need to,
No additional information.
and any questions from council? Any questions from anyone here tonight? Then with that, can I get a motion to approve the first reading of an ordinance providing for the extension of Fair Oaks Ranch city limits by the annexation of approximately 2.923 acre tract of land located at 329 Ammon Road, Kendall County, Texas, and providing for an effective date?
So moved.
From Keith, and a second. From Jonathan. And any discussion, comments from council? Then with the motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Jessica, was this your first time to present at council?
Yes, it was.
And you've only been here for,
Maybe,
6 months, 7 months?
Now just hitting my 6 months. Yes.
well, welcome, and you did a great job. Thank you for everything you did tonight.
Thank you, appreciate it. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to our workshop items. We have 2 workshop items to go through tonight. First is taking a look at Ammon Road Reconstruction Project update and review of the low water crossing and the possible options. And Kelsey.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kelsey Delgado. I'm the project manager for the City of Fair Oaks Ranch. Tonight, STV will present a workshop which will review low water crossing options for the Ammon Road Reconstruction Project. As you may recall, this project includes a full-depth reconstruction of 2.17 miles of Ammon Road. It will include adding 2-foot buffers on each side, drainage improvements, utility adjustments, and will soften the southern curve near Rolling Acres Trail. As part of the design efforts, STV has provided low water crossing design options for 2 locations based off of the 5, 10, and 25-year storm event. As part of this workshop, STV will present a project update, the summary of those low water crossing design options, and construction cost estimates. Based on the presentation, staff seeks guidance from City Council on which low water crossing design option to incorporate into final design. With that, I will hand it over to STV to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Kelsey. Good evening, everyone. My name is Luba Esquivel, and I am the project manager with STV. STV is providing engineering design services for the City of Fair Oaks and for the Ammon Road reconstruction project. Here with me I have today Joseph Sosa. He's our drainage design lead on the project, and he will go into more detail on drainage here shortly. I will go here over the scope. Kelsey already mentioned some of it. I will also present to you a project map, and the main topic of this presentation is to go over the 2 low water crossings that we have identified in the 3 options. Those options are for the 5, 10, and the 25 design year storm events. We will also present to you the cost for each of the options, and then go over the potentially affected parcels, and then give you a recommendation at the end of the presentation. For the scope of work, as Kelsey mentioned, it is a 2.17-mile road reconstruction. The existing roadway is 2 11-foot lanes. And for the proposed configuration, we're proposing to keep the 11-foot lanes with the 2-foot buffers on each side. This project will help with the safety and operational improvements, as well as provide the drainage improvements. The drainage improvements consist of upgrading of the culverts and the ditches along the road. The ditches will be deeper than what's out there. They will help reduce the flooding and handle the flow. Here you see a project map of Ammon Road. On the top left corner, that's where the project begins. That is the west end of the city limits. And on the bottom right, this is where the project will end, and that is the east end of the city limits. There are 2 blue pins on this alignment. Those are the locations for the low water crossings that we have identified. And I will let Joseph Sosa take it from here to go over those options.
Thank you. So our first low water crossing, the existing culvert's a 1 18-inch RCP. And as you can tell, we have some flooding issues. And then the existing level of service is below the 2-year. So just to put that into context, that's the 2-year is about 4 inches in 24 hours. So we proposed 2 or 3 options to meet different levels of service. So the first one is a 5-year. That's going to be the more frequent, less rainfall. So that's going to be around 5.5 inches in 24 hours. And all the way in the other side is the 25-year, which is just under 9 inches in 24 hours. So we have 3 options there and the associated costs with those. So we have the proposed crossings. The next 3 slides are going to be the 3 that we just looked at, and these are the proposed grading improvements that we're going to need. And on the downstream side, we have proposed riprap to reduce erosion from the downstream side. As you can tell, the next one is the 10-year, and that's where we get more culverts and a wider apron for the riprap down here. And then finally, the 25-year. And then the next low water crossing, just about 850 north of Ranch Pass. And again, we have one existing 18-inch RCP. And so the same thing with this, below a 2-year level of service. And with those, we have, because of the depth, we're only able to insert 18 inches instead of raising the culvert. So we have various options that meet the 5, 10, and 25 level of service. And again, we have the proposed grading and the riprap to reduce erosion. And then finally, our 25-year. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. All right, here you see a list of potentially affected parcels. On the top, there are the 2 low water crossings. Each of them have 2 potentially affected parcels. One is on the upstream of the crossing, and the other one is on the downstream of the crossing. The reason they're potentially affected is because we need to do the grading to upgrade those structures on the downstream and the upstream end. Below that, there's a list of the rest of the potentially affected parcels that are outside of those 2 low water crossings. And those are also affected due to the grading that is required for the drainage improvements and other roadway improvements that we're proposing. I do want to mention that this list is still subject to change. We're still working on modeling the grading. We're still refining all that. So, but we just wanted to provide this to you so you can have an idea. Yes, sorry.
Have any of these been affected by flooding so far or to date?
Existing. From what we've seen, we haven't heard directly from the property owners, but from what we've seen, I think some of them have been affected from what we see out there. Mostly on the low water crossings 1 and 2, I can potentially see happening, just because of how small those existing culverts are. So that's.
Thank you.
No problem. Yes.
Is there a rainwater runoff survey done on the 344 acres? And what kind of runoff that may have impact on those drainage ditches that you're talking about and/or bigger culverts down the road?
So, all our culverts that we proposed are based on the existing area contributing towards it. However, we understand that you'll have she spoke eloquently on the new tract, so we're going to incorporate those if you so choose to accept the new development. So yeah, we are going to incorporate that development into our design.
Thank you. Any more questions on this slide?
Can you go over that again for me about the existing development? Is that going to, I guess, just need to simplify it for me a little bit. Is what you're proposing going to affect what's being proposed on the downward side? Or are you going to be able to divert the water? Is this project going to divert the water away from that?
No, so I guess our culverts are only designed to convey existing flow. So I guess here's the proposed track that that was just mentioned. So this culvert is currently only taking existing conditions here, but we will incorporate the future development into that design. But to answer your question directly, we're not increasing the flow on the downstream side here. We're just conveying more flow that would not flood the road.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
So, just to be clear, so I believe the question was looking at with a development coming in which could increase impervious cover towards that area, and that's what y'all are gonna take a look at to ensure that it can handle?
Well, we are not taking a look at the development from that, like, we're not taking it from that perspective. I think that maybe the engineers for the development can maybe speak to the impact of the development on the neighboring properties.
Okay.
If they're here, but I guess, yeah, if you want.
Thanks, Ben. I just want to make sure we're all talking and that we have the right information.
Ben Bunker with Bitterblue Development, and we have Matt Geistway with PD. He's our engineer on the project. We are on the upstream side of this culvert, or culvert number 2. Currently, we have planned to do a detention basin, so we would not be increasing. I think our original study that our previous engineer had submitted, he also had designed the, across the street from us, or from the downstream side of this, and it was, he told us it was designed for ultimate development.
Is that the Stone Creek Ranch?
Correct.
Development, okay.
So I don't, yeah. So right now, we're planning to do detention to minimize our
Yeah,
Yeah.
the impacts. So I'll add, Councilmember Smear. When the development agreement, the amendments that were passed in that has the development doing detention. And so the idea behind detention is that with these culverts being right at the edge of the property, we would, for the development perspective, we would look at existing conditions, pre-development, what those flow rates look like, and then the detention would mitigate the runoff from the development to those pre-development flows.
To keep it at the same
To
flow
keep
that
it
it's
at the
currently
same
at?
flows.
Okay.
And so as these, the engineer for the road was speaking, they've modeled it to existing conditions, and, that's what you're deciding on here. And then we would obviously just try and fall in line with whatever their flow rates are. They're different drainage analysis, and it's not exactly, because sometimes the methods between engineers don't match up exactly, but the idea would be that we would match pre-development flows and fall in line. And it's obviously good timing that they're designing this now, and now we're also designing the pond that we can try and be in concert together.
Okay.
Any other questions on the
I
development
guess,
drainage?
Mayor, that was my point. We have a lot of moving forces here at the same time on Ammon Road. And I want to make sure that we're working together and not working against each other on this. And Kelsey, I think this falls into your bailiwick to keep an eye on this.
And Kelsey's already coordinated so that we're talking with.
Awesome, that's where my concerns were.
Yes, we are coordinating with Post Oak Development, and we will continue doing so then our projects align.
Thanks, Ben. I didn't mean to put you all on the spot, and I appreciate you coming forward and explaining that. That was very helpful. Yes, sir.
Just a follow-up on you mentioned the soft, the corner being softened on Ammon Road, and where that land came from to move that in that far. Does that make room for that softening?
Northern curve or the southern?
On the southern
The southern
curve, the dedication is in the development agreement, so the developer is dedicating the acreage to the city to soften the southern curve.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, on this next slide, this is a summary of what we went over, but I will kind of go through it real quick. So the first two lines represent the culvert structure types for each of those options. The third and the fourth line, those are the associated costs with the low water crossing options. And then below that, that is the total cost of each option. Then on the bottom line, this is the total project cost. So basically, this is the low water crossing cost plus the other construction costs, which include anything that's outside of those crossings, such as pavement cost, other drainage structures, and grading cost, sign and striping, and etc. We do recommend the third option because that is, we do believe this is the safest option for the traveling public during the flood events. It will also avoid the needs for the upgrades in the future, and this is the safest and most sustainable option for the city and its residents. And thank you so much for your time. This is it for our presentation today, and I will take any questions you have.
Could you put that last slide up
Yeah.
again, please? Because the differential in the cost and the time frame involved looks like the 25 year is the way to go.
Yes, yeah, it's only, well, it is over $200,000 difference. There is more impact as far as grading, to the properties, but as far as cost, it's not that huge of a difference, but there is a definitely difference.
And I believe go ahead.
But most likely cheaper than doing it every 5 years or repairing it every 5
Yes,
years.
oh,
Yes, ma'am.
definitely, yeah, it will save money.
Thank you.
The rainfall over 24 hours for a 10-year. I think you said 4 inches for 5 and then 9 inches for 25, but you said 10 was in the middle. I'm just curious where at in the middle.
So 10 is 6.86, so.
Okay, so it'll handle 6.86 inches of rain in 24 hours.
Yes, for the 10-year.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, do we know what that crossing at Battle Intense is?
I'm sorry?
What year flood it said, or how many inches? Just curious.
What crossing?
I think Councilmember Swartz asking about the Battle Intense low water crossing. That's the low water crossing that floods most often in the city, and that level of surface has got to be less than 2 as well.
No.
Two-year storm.
Okay, so 10-year would put it well out of flooding as often as we see it now anyway, if we did 10-year on that one. Yeah. Thank you.
How many times has Emmon Road reported a flood because of a rain event at either of those two water crossings? I mean, do we,
Yeah, I know we're going into the 4th year of drought, so we haven't had a lot of rain, but I'm sure it has been overtopped in the past. I just don't know how often.
I know in the last 2-3 months, I remember my phone going off because there was reports of flooding at like Rolling Acres and Battle Intense, but were there any such reports for Ammon Road? Or for those same events that just happened in the last few months? No?
No, there was no closures on Ammon Road, and that was probably because the rain was falling on a different drainage area.
Okay.
Any other questions? I believe what they're looking for tonight is for council to give some direction on which option to go with so that they can further develop it instead of having to develop 3 options.
That's correct. I have one more question, sorry. For you said the grading increases on the adjacent properties, I think that's what I understood, for the option 2 or 3, the 10-year, 25-year. So do you mean that, like, for instance, if we go with 25-year, you'll have to go into the actual adjacent property owner's land to work on grading?
So we will have to go into the property regardless of what option we will go with. But as you can see here on the bottom, the blue kind of represents the grading itself. So because the culvert is wider, we do have to grade it out more. As far as distance, it doesn't, like how far we have to go in, it doesn't change much, but because of the width, it is just, the surface area is a lot bigger.
And for all the properties that were listed, either for low water crossing 1 or 2, have all of those landowners been like contacted, or are they aware of this and the potential impacts on their properties?
That is the plan, to discuss it with, individually with all of the properties, is my understanding.
Yes, so now that we're at 30%, we're going to start reaching out to those property owners to make those one-on-one connections to discuss this project and the potential impacts that it will have on those properties.
See, I would rather, my mind could be changed, but I would rather know what they think before I have to give direction on a minimal or, you know, a middle ground or an extreme potential effect on their property. Rather than us choosing like, hey, we're gonna choose the maximum potential effect on their property, and then we're gonna go see what they think about that, if that makes sense. But that's just me.
Is this property, I mean, is this drainage going into the Post Oak property or not? I'm not sure I can tell.
Flows the other way, so it'll flow into Stone Creek.
Correct.
What's our budget on this in our CIP for this project?
So currently, the roadway CIP has this project, the construction of it, at 5.5 million. As noted, the OPCC currently is 6.5 to 6.7 million. This is a preliminary estimate based off of just the 30% design, and so it will become more refined as design progresses. It is important to note that this OPCC does include a 20% contingency, which is around $1 million, which can be adjusted as we progress through design. There's also contribution coming in from Post Oak Development for softening that southern curve, and potentially another cost-sharing opportunity with Kendall County to soften the northern curve as well. Both of those would offset the project cost.
Wouldn't the contribution from Post Oak for softening the southern curve cover that, not necessarily cover this this part?
It
But
would,
what you're saying is, this is the whole road, right? This is the entire project?
correct,
Okay,
including the
gotcha.
softening of that
Gotcha,
curve.
gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay.
So if I could help address that last question, sir. So I don't believe any of these options will affect the volume of water that's going downstream to some of those properties. Right now, that volume goes over the road, and the intent by selecting one or some of these options is to make that water go underneath the road. So it wouldn't change the volume of water.
It will definitely help with not having the water overtop the roadway, adding those culverts.
Looks like it does, right?
Oh, it
From
definitely
the
does.
pictures you have, there's
Yeah.
ponding that's almost like even with the top of the road already, and it's not raining in the picture, so, I mean, and you can see where there's like some silt on top of the road from it running. So it happens, just nobody calls it in and people drive through it. So maybe it's not that bad. But they're gonna, I mean, this picture doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless you can imagine all the spoil out of that ditch, right? Like they have to dig that ditch a lot deeper to handle all that water. And then it starts, I mean, that's where a lot of the cost for this project is moving that ditch and deepening that ditch.
Right, yeah, it just sits there and then it overtops onto the roadway. And you can see on the other picture here on the screen, the red kind of represents how much area how much water goes just into that one 18-inch pipe.
So kind of, for me, two questions came out of this. One was the amount of water that would flow through it. And what we're saying now is that with the new culvert design, that water will flow underneath the road, same amount of water to get to the other side of the road instead of under the road and over the top of the road. But it's the same amount of water no matter what culvert design goes in there.
Yes,
Okay?
that's correct.
Second question, what I thought Ruben was asking is if you look at, can you go back to the design where it shows,
Sorry, which slide do you want to see?
how about showed the maximum, the 25-year?
The
Okay,
very
this one right there. So
Okay.
I believe at the bottom of it, it shows, and if the white line is correct, is that private property line?
The
And,
white line is the fiber optic underground
okay.
line.
And so at any point where you show the riprap and the extension of that drainage area, does that cross over into private property? Do we know that, or?
Property under the blue.
Your question is, does the blue cross yes, the blue is within the property,
Private property?
private
So-
property, that is correct.
So it's outside our easement, the
That
drainage
is
easement will
correct.
enter, okay.
Well, there is currently, right, it is outside of the existing right-of-way. There is currently no easement, but the grading will be done within the private property.
Okay, and so if you go back to the 2-year storm,
Mm-hmm.
same diagram, I mean, it still shows that it's crossing over into private property. It's probably just not as wide, is that?
That is correct. And then to kind of give, it's hard to see, but there's an orange line that's kind of on top of the blue, where the blue starts. I don't know if I can point right here. This is the existing right-of-way. So anything past this right-of-way down is the private property line. And then I do want to note that the riprap is not going to go all the way down. The riprap is only in this area, and then everything else is just the grading that's to let the water flow, to have the positive flow. There's not going to be any riprap, so it's still going to be grass. It's just going to be graded.
Okay. Do we know, is that graded now at some level?
No, so kind of looking at the contours, on this specific one, there's a hole in front of the fence, so water just kind of sits there, and whenever it does finally make its way into the private property, there's not like a good channel where the water can continuously flow. It just kind of gets in the low spots and sits there and then overflows and then continues. But the intent for the water as you can see, it's kind of over here. The intent for is to naturally flow this way. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to grade it so it can naturally flow where it's supposed to, where it's meant to flow.
That was the natural
Yes.
drainage area
Yes.
that has now become silted up and prevented water from properly flowing through
Yes,
that.
and then this existing culvert currently seems to be lower than the point over here, so we're gonna raise it up just a little bit so we don't have to grade even more. And so we can grade just enough to let the water flow where it's supposed to.
Okay.
That's correct. The intention of the grading is to improve what the current condition is on these properties, to allow the flow of water, the natural flow of water out of the culverts onto the property.
Raise the road there?
We are raising the road, since there's an 18-inch pipe underneath. If we wanted to kind of keep the road where it's at, we'll have to add like maybe 20 or 30 pipes. So we have to look into raising it slightly. We can't, basically the 6x2s that we're proposing, the 2-foot depth is like the minimum depth for the box culvert that we can go with. So we're using that, and this just looks wider because it's so shallow. But we're still raising the road to allow to place that those culvert boxes underneath the road.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
So, this may be a dumb question, but if some of that work is gonna go onto private property, whether it's riprap or just the great natural grading work, I mean, do we have authority to do that? Or do we have to have permission and landowners' consent?
Definitely need to have a consent. We'll have to prepare like an easement exhibit and get an approval to do this work.
Okay.
Question for Grant, has the city done that in the past, and does it seem to be super difficult, near impossible to do, or are people pretty understanding that the city needs to do stuff?
Definitely for past city projects, we've obtained drainage easements similar to what we'd probably do here. And for most of those property owners have been very cooperative in terms of wanting to improve the flow of drainage in and around their property as well.
Thank you.
If we're talking about taking water under the road versus over the road, so the same amount of volume is happening with these, why does the blue area expand when we get to the larger? Is it because we're going to grade it to flow more shallow in that area? Is that what's happening? Because each time I look at that, it seems to grow from
Yeah,
the 2 to
so
25.
I'm gonna try to kind of show it. So let's say at the bottom, like where the outfall is, if the existing ground's over here, well, in the upstream it's picking up, and now you widening with your boxes, so the flow line kind of stays the same. So as you're widening, this existing ground that used to be like that, it has to be basically flatter, and so that kind of it's an effect that it happens with the grading because we have to grade from the flow line down.
I like option 2, just, this is a workshop. I don't know where we're all kind of at, but I think if we can figure that out, then we can kind of go forward and see if we need to learn more about the different options, or.
And I also like Ruben's idea, though, like maybe give the idea of this is where we want to go, but let's talk to the landowners. And if they're like, no, do 25, then maybe we pivot.
Or rock on my property.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay. Is that typically what we do? Like we show the landowners, hey, this is kind of what we're thinking about doing. Are you guys cool with that?
Yeah, that's we'll provide them options and we'll have them make the decision, explain all the the reasoning for why we're doing this. It is definitely gonna help that area with overtopping, prevent the overtopping that's happening right now.
So are we okay with them taking option 2 to the landowners and seeing, or does anybody want option 3 or 1?
Just so we're clear, if we proceed with option 2, that will be and coordinating with the landowners, that will be the direction we give to the design consultant. Bear in mind that after design is completed, we have one shot at this, essentially, right, once construction starts. So the difference between the cheapest and the most expensive option is $220,000-ish, as it's shown there. At that point, that's what we'll go with. If we go through this process, we can still change it until design is completed. Bear in mind that could necessitate a change order if we decide to go from 10 to either to 5 or to the 25-year option. So just want to let everyone know that up front. So with that, based on that, and I know you still want to discuss, but just giving it the flow here, if we went with option 2, that would be the direction we would go. And then what I would want to hear in addition is just recapping, making sure that we're addressing any other questions you have when we come back for later updates on the design.
What I was going to ask is if we do option 2 for the 10-year event, if there's a 25-year event, does that mean it would overtop the road?
Yes.
Doing now, regularly, right? Like a road can be overtopped a few times and you'll be okay. And when it does happen, I mean, I would assume the city, like after a major flooding event, we kind of ride around and look and see what's what. So if there's anything that's been washed away, we're going to fix it,
And I don't know
I don't think we're going to save any homes by putting in bigger culverts and expanding that, right? Like the same amount of water is going to come down that hill. It's either going to go under the road, 10 years, or then once every 25 years, maybe it's going to go over the road. But it's the same water going to the same place.
And I don't know if it helps any to make a decision on in the TxDOT hydraulic design manual for this type of road. 10 is a preferable for this type of road, but 25 and 5 are also listed on there for this type of road. So.
Guess what makes it preferable?
Well, and for reference, our Unified Development Code has collector street such as this one at 25 years.
I think that's something that I've heard, we might take a look at later on down the road anyway, just the whole thing. So, I mean, I understand. Thank you for that input.
Thank you.
There'll be a significant change when that development is built out with a lot more impervious cover, correct?
It
And
won't,
with the
this won't
streets.
affect it. We're not turning any spigot on right there, right? Like, we're not adding to the rainwater. They're gonna have to figure that out according to our UDC as it is right now regardless. This isn't moving that ditch and it's not adding any water into it. The only thing that we can decide today is how often are we okay with it going over the top of that road? Right, that's our only variable here that we can monkey with, as I understand it.
That is correct, yes. And there will be, from what I saw, there seems to be multiple detention ponds on that development, so they can detain that impervious cover that they're adding.
Now,
The
are
flow.
those multiple detention ponds based on a 25-year or a 10-year? Because I understand that you guys are going to change stuff based on what we do here as well to catch
Right.
the water. And y'all are going to save some money just like we're saving some money if we opt for the 10-year versus the 25-year.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the culverts, the pre-development flows, what's going there now in any modeled rain event, like that shouldn't change. We're mitigating the peak flows. So the amount of water, like you said, the spigot's the same. The development, per development agreement, which is in line with the UDC, it's modeled, I believe it's the 210 and 100 year, is that right, Lee? Or 210, 25, it's different, 210, 25 and 100 year storms. So that's what we're modeled to per the UDC. So it's a range of events that we're mitigating for. Now, that's just looking at pre-development flow at the road. So if a 100-year storm comes, which and the term 100-year is something that some engineer didn't really think through because it's just a recurrence interval. So a 100-year storm is a 1% chance of happening in any given year. So say that 1% storm comes through, the detention pond is going to capture the flow and then let it go at the same rate that it was before the development was there. But that water will still come through and still go over the road. And so what you're looking for today and what she's been explaining is your decision point is, water going under the road or over the road. And it's not necessarily, it affects the properties around because it's not impounding here and it's, releasing, through the road. But it's more of a safety thing for people that are traveling, in a 25-year event when it's raining, how many inches of an hour, and they're out there on, Hammond Road, navigating the culverts, that they're not hitting water that's over that crossing at a depth that's unsafe to cross. And I'm not sure what those are, and I'm sure you can speak to those, but that's really the trade-off and the cost that you're deciding. So, and that's aside from the development at all. I realize I'm the development engineer, but that just speaking from an engineering point of view and helping add clarity to that. Any other questions on the development?
I don't think so. I think we're all on the same page, kind of, mostly. I think we're all on the same page mostly, right? Like, I can talk about this. I like drainage, right? I'm a farmer, man.
We
I
can
can talk
talk
drainage
afterwards.
forever,
It's okay.
so. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for me?
I have a question, Scott.
Yes.
The city, y'all are recommending the 25 in your proposal here. What was your decisioning point for that? We're kind of centering it, sounds like the council is centering on 10, but you guys are.
Yeah, it
suggesting
was
25.
really just the relative cost difference for the maximum safety and security. That was the recommendation. But like I said, if it's a 10-year event, then you're mitigating for a 10% chance, as the gentleman just said.
Any other questions?
Everybody was pretty good, general 10-year, is that?
Like, sign me up for saving $100 grand.
And then from that, we still have the opportunity to talk to residents. And is this north of Stone Creek Ranch and then Stone Creek Ranch
Yes.
on the second one? Based on their comments, if they came back and said they'd prefer 25 years, that's something we want brought back to us. Okay.
They are going to be the ones driving this stretch of road, so.
Grand? I forget.
I think it was, yeah.
So 10-year, talk to the residents. If they come back and they say they would prefer on the downstream side to go 25-year, then can we bring it back to council to reconsider?
Yes. Sounds great.
Okay? Is that speaking for everybody and we're all on track? All right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Kelsey.
Changing gears a little bit, could you tell me a little bit about what you know or may know about softening the curve, the other curve on Ammon, that Kendall County you mentioned may have something, participation in there or something?
Yeah, we're in preliminary discussions with Kendall County, but they have expressed interest in cost sharing the softening of the northern curve. We're getting a preliminary design together for the what that would look like, and we will be presenting it to Kendall County to get their feedback on it, if it's something that they are interested in pursuing with us.
Very good, thank you.
Anything else? Ammon Road? We'll move on to our second workshop item tonight, which is drainage infrastructure overview and drainage lead for full-time equivalent request, FTE.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Grant Watanabe, Director of Public Works, and I'll be presenting an overview of the city's drainage infrastructure, and a request to include a new drainage lead position in the proposed budget as requested by Councilmember Swarek at the last City Council meeting. Here's the agenda for this workshop. After covering the overview of the city's drainage infrastructure, I'll go over a map of known drainage issues across the city and some of the work we've done to address those issues. I'll cover the framework for our in-house drainage maintenance program, which includes creating an asset inventory and conducting condition assessments to identify and prioritize projects. And then along with some past and future projects that are planned by the maintenance division. I'll also cover the proposed Public Works Maintenance Organization and how the drainage lead is a critical position for establishing our in-house drainage maintenance program. I'll cover some of the primary roles and responsibilities of the drainage lead, and then we'll kind of wrap up with the cost and budget discussion. So the primary means of stormwater conveyance in our city is an interconnected system of ditches, channels, and culverts that convey stormwater to drainage easements and eventually to creeks and tributaries. We have approximately 60 miles of public roads and an estimated 100 miles of bar ditches, channels, and easements. There are 6 low water crossings throughout the city, 2 on Ammon Road that we just talked about, 2 on Rolling Acres Trail, 1 on Silver Spurs Trail, and 1 on Battle Intense. We also have about a quarter mile of underground storm drain, which was recently installed as part of the Tovole Way project, and an unknown number of culverts. Here's the map of known drainage issues in the city. 46 of them were identified as part of the 2018 Drainage Master Plan. Those are represented by the red dots. And since then, staff have identified an additional 24 drainage issues, and those are represented by the green dots on the map. When it comes to planned and completed projects, over the past couple of years, 5 projects have been completed. Those include the Rolling Acres Trail halt system, an analysis of the Silver Spur Trail low water crossing in which no action was taken in that case, the Tivoli Way underground storm system, Turf Paradise Lane where we conducted some grading and culvert replacement, and over on Rocking Horse Lane where we also replaced the culverts. Under our current 5-year drainage CIP, we have 11 projects that are planned with several in design. And as part of our in-house drainage maintenance program, the staff has completed 4 projects with 4 more planned in the next few years, and I'll cover those in the next couple slides. Oops. So over the past year, we've been working with Ernie Martinez, who's our GIS specialist, to create a drainage infrastructure map using ArcGIS. This map is composed of over 1,000 different segments representing the ditches, culverts, and easements and other drainage infrastructure in our city. This map will serve as our asset inventory and central data repository. And if you notice on the map to the right, this map also identifies the floodplains that are in and around our city, where the blue represents the 100-year floodplain, the orange represents the 500-year floodplain, and the red represents the regulatory floodway. So for each segment in this map, we intend to populate the data fields associated with it, and those include the location, the type, whether it's an earthen ditch, a channel, a culvert, the material, whether it's a corrugated metal pipe, reinforced concrete pipe, or other material, the size, the grade. Grade is very important, especially when you're doing maintenance in flat areas, because you need to know the flow pattern, what's upstream and what's downstream when you're grading. The condition, I'll cover a little bit more on condition on the next slide, but we also plan to color code the condition. We'll record past inspection dates, the maintenance history, and then attach any documents to the map as well, and to those segments as well, including any photos or as-builts. I mentioned color coding, so each segment will be color coded based on the condition following an assessment. Green will represent good, orange will represent fair, and red will represent poor, and gray will represent unknown or to be determined. And at this time, it's kind of hard to see, but there are just a few small orange and red segments up in the Rolling Acres Trail area. That's where we kind of did our test run with this drainage infrastructure map. But the vast majority of the segments, I'd say over 99% of the segments are still gray, which is unknown or to be determined. The results from this will be used to prioritize our in-house maintenance efforts. It will also support our annual budgeting, and it will help inform future drainage CFP projects. This process is very similar to the city's annual street maintenance program, where all of our public roads are color-coded based on condition using PCI and OCI data. And that's what's used to determine which streets and the type of treatment used on those streets each year in order to maximize the lifespan of our road infrastructure. As I mentioned before, there have been a few projects that have been completed and a few that are planned. There's a few pictures up there. In 2022, staff completed drainage maintenance on Rock Oak Circle and Silver Spur Trail, restoring some of the drainage ditches along those roads. And then last year in 2024, staff also completed restoring some of the ditches along Rolling Acres Trail. The few other projects we are planned are also in the northwest side of the city. They include work on Sunland, Scartine, and Wembley, but this is subject to change depending on the outcome of our asset inventory, condition assessment, and prioritization efforts. Here's our maintenance organization. On the left, you can see our current organization. Clint Kuprik serves as our supervisor. James Ramirez is our sole maintenance lead. We have 7 maintenance techs, including 1 position that's vacant. Cliff McClendon is our janitor, and Tom Kunkel is our mechanic, so a total of 11 positions within our maintenance division. Now, if the drainage lead position is supported, the Public Works Department or the Maintenance Division does plan to transition to the organization that you see on the right. Again, Clint Kuprik serving as our supervisor, but you'll see a dedicated drainage division reporting to him. Now, in the first year, we plan to have 2 personnel in our drainage division. That includes the drainage lead and an assigned maintenance tech. And in that first year, that small team will be responsible for developing and assisting in that drainage inventory and condition assessment. And I do expect it's going to take a full year to get through every single road and every single asset that we have throughout the city. Now, in subsequent years, the drainage lead will start to serve as the crew leader for the drainage team, which will include other assigned staff from the maintenance department, growing from 2 to perhaps 3 or 4. Yes, sir.
Could you tell me what his job responsibilities will be in that crew lead position? Will he just be standing around pointing fingers, or is he going to be, you know, running backhoe if he needs to?
Oh, he'll
or
be
maybe
working
go help the road crew
right along
if they're
shoulder to
man
shoulder
short?
with his guys.
Okay, so like a float guy, right? Just
Right.
whatever needs to be done, he's there to do it.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
The drainage lead will be responsible for developing the work plans, implementing drainage solutions that can be replicated across the city, and this dedicated team would hopefully move from one drainage maintenance location to the next. Now, upon establishment of the drainage division, the Public Works Department also plans to establish a streets division and a facilities and fleet division from our existing staff. This separation will allow staff to gain the necessary knowledge, technical skills, and experience in either streets, drainage, or facility maintenance. And the development of these skill sets will benefit not only the department, but the city as staff become more proficient in their day-to-day operations. Mr. Swark, you mentioned roles and responsibilities of the drainage lead, so I'll cover a few more here. The drainage lead will lead assigned staff in the maintenance and repair of drainage infrastructure, including the bar ditches, the channels, the culverts, easements, storm drains, and our low water crossings. The drainage lead will assist in establishing the annual drainage maintenance program through continuous inspection, assessment, prioritization, and execution of those projects. The drainage lead will help develop that asset inventory and GIS drainage map that I've been mentioning before. He or she will identify projects needing contract support, coordinate with our procurement officer to award those contracts and help oversee those contracts. He'll also help to develop work plans in conjunction with our engineering department to implement solutions. And again, he'll be responsible for training his staff on the safe equipment operation, traffic control, erosion control, public outreach, and customer service. And then lastly, assisting in any emergency response or recovery efforts after storm events. When it comes to cost, the estimated cost for this position is about $68,000, and this includes salary, benefits, supplies, uniforms, and training. However, since the proposed budget is at the adopted max tax rate, the position cannot be added without reducing another area of the budget. So if the position is supported by City Council, staff is recommending that we reduce the annual street maintenance budget, which is currently $900,000, to cover the cost of the drainage lead position, to maintain the tax rate and the total appropriation. Reducing the annual street maintenance by $68,000 will not have a great negative impact, and that's because staff is doing more in-house work, and that's a lot cheaper than contracting that work. And also because we plan to break ground on the Dees Elkhorn reconstruction project next year, which is a very big investment into our road infrastructure.
Now, Grant, let me ask you, the last survey that we had done with the personnel guys, right? They specifically mentioned that guys in these positions were gonna require more if they had certifications. Does this guy, are we gonna require this position to have any of those certifications?
I want to say yes.
Okay.
We haven't developed the job description yet, but there will be some certifications required, yes.
Do we feel confident that that 67 is in line with what somebody's gonna have to have once they have all those certifications based on the info that we just bought from the other company?
For the position, yes, we have separate certification pays that council has approved through previous pay plans that take into account. There's like CSEC is one of the main drainage certifications, and I don't know all the certifications that apply to the maintenance, but any of those would be on top of that, but they're usually less than $1,000.
Feel pretty confident that we're gonna fill this position for this? I mean, seems like all the data
That's
that
why
we
it's
have.
being presented tonight.
Yeah, I'm going back to, if you remember, when he presented last time, he specifically said, you know, your drainage guys and your wastewater guys, they have to have more certifications. And you guys are probably, you know, so what's gonna happen is, he specifically said that, you know, about 6 months down the road, you guys are gonna have these unfilled positions and have to figure out, hey, I guess we're gonna have to bump this up. And I asked him that question, and he doubled down and said it again after that. So I'm just making sure that we feel good even after what he said, that yes, this is, we think that we can fill this. There's labor out there looking for this tag.
I'm very confident, yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, Ruben.
Would $68,000 into a new drainage lead position, would that save money for the city in the long run?
I believe so. Much like with our street maintenance program where we're doing preventive maintenance and treatment, that's always cheaper to do than reconstruction. So by doing similar maintenance on our drainage infrastructure, I believe we can help at least reduce the costs or maybe reduce the number of future drainage CIP projects.
And will there be any negative impact in taking $68,000 from the street maintenance budget?
I don't believe so, no.
Great, you talked about, you know, saving money, and you talked about the incident that, you know, by doing the work, preventive maintenance on our stormwater areas, we could save cost in the future. But also I looked at, we've invested in stormwater projects over the past couple of years and even have projects that we're looking at this year. And if we don't find a way to start maintaining those, then within several years, they're just gonna end up back where they were at previously. Is that?
I agree, yes, Mayor.
Grant, I believe a couple of years ago, we approved 2 FTEs for drainage projects, okay? But they're not in this current slide that you
Right.
showed me.
So
Where are those bodies?
So right now, they're just part of the maintenance division. Once we stand up a dedicated drainage team and we have a lead assigned to it, those bodies will move into the drainage division.
Yeah, I'm looking at the task, okay? And, you know, the fact that we don't know where half the things that we're supposed to be watching are located in the city. This is a yeoman's job that you're going to have to try and identify everything and get it into a database. And is one position enough? I mean, I'll kick that out there now, so we're not looking at this later on. Is that going to be, you've got to identify, I don't know, 1,000+ locations and get it into a database? How do we do that? We physically go out and ride around the city and go, well, there's one, there's one. I mean,
So the creation of our infrastructure map would definitely help. We've pre-populated it with where we assume all of our ditches and channels and easements will be, so that when the drainage lead and his assistant get out into the field, they'll have an app on their phone connected to our GIS map, and they'll be able to update each segment on the go as they're in the field. And the hope is that they'll get through at least the majority of the city in the first year.
I think to add to that, you know, Scott and I were talking about this, and we figured out how many square miles Fair Oaks was, which was, I've forgotten already, shame on me. Ballpark.
12.26 square miles, I believe is what it was.
Right, and we're requesting 12 guys to take care of that. Now, imagine all of Fair Oaks, right, and what it takes to get done everything that our maintenance team does. And they will all fit on the first 3 rows of a school bus. So you step up on a school bus and just the first 3 rows, that's it. That's our whole team. That's what we're asking for. You know, give us the last man for, it's crazy the amount of work they do. And we're gonna ask them to cut the contractors out, you know, going forward, cut some of the contractors out, doing a lot of stuff in-house. I'm personally really excited about this, if you can't tell, so.
I guess that's why I was asking the question. It sounds, it's obvious we're looking, you guys are looking to go ahead and grab a hold of this problem, you know. It's well overdue. And we were willing to help, you know, several years ago with 2 FTEs. It's the question is out there. And I'm not looking for an answer now, you know, but I think that I'd like to know more about the scope of this and how long it's going to take to go ahead and continue doing, because you're taking this out of Hyde already with everything else that these guys are doing. I want to be able to see a positive outcome at the end of this, and if we need to look at other ways of doing it, then let's do it now.
And the expectation is to bring on 2 people, right? Because we have 1 vacant spot right now that we haven't been able to fill because what we're thinking is it was underpaid or wasn't following the market rate, right? So we're gonna add, the blue and the red is what we're requesting the blue. We've already got the red that should be filled now that we've hopefully figured out why it's not filled. Is that?
It's a current vacancy, a relatively recent, so that's in the recruitment process now. So we're talking about one new position, which is the lead. We just happen to have an additional vacancy at the moment.
Anybody else? I think we've had a challenge with our stormwater projects across the city. We've done a great job at maintaining our roads and developing a program that supports that. We have no program for maintaining our stormwater across the city. And, you know, over the last 4 years, we've had little to no rain, but when it does come, we do have challenges across the city. Some of what you talked about is part of this, so you're looking tonight for council to say to go ahead and move forward with this new FTE for a drainage division lead. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, Mayor, and the equivalent reduction in the annual street maintenance to cover the cost of that position.
Okay. And so what, for a year, this is in planning, is that correct? That's his primary purpose.
That is the intent.
And so what you've talked about is a lot of drainage projects that are identified across the city. And I would also like to include as part of that planning is, with roads, we have a maintenance process also. How do we upkeep the drainage, just drainage ditches across cities so that we don't get into the position we're in now, again, sometime in the future. So we have a plan on how do we repair a lot of them that are faulty right now, but also to me, it's how do we look forward to what is needed to maintain them sometime in the future. May not be able to be all done in 1 year, but there ought to be some transition of how we're getting there as part of that. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yes.
Okay.
Agree. Yeah, so the first year, like Grant said, will be focused on developing that inventory and hopefully at the end of the first year, getting towards what an annual cycle will look like. It's entirely reasonable or possible, and after that is developed, we may say based on the amount of work the drainage team needs 3 or 4 FTEs. I don't know what that number is, but the intent is to develop the inventory so we can get a better feel for what a full-time, fully dedicated drainage team, how that would look.
Okay. Everybody good? I'm okay with it. I think it's a good direction. I think it's the next step. I believe you mentioned saving cost and maybe even some of these projects we could do in-house. But also I believe that a lot of the projects we have invested in, I mean, you showed the Silver Spur one that we completed in 2022.
Correct, with Rock Oak Circle.
2022, we went
Yes.
out there and did a ribbon cutting on it, and we have done nothing to maintain that drainage ditch since we did the ribbon cutting on it 3 years ago. So, if it goes another 3 years, it could be right back where it was prior to the project we did in 21, 22. So we're saving money, my belief, by doing the maintenance that's required as we're investing to improve our stormwater system.
I think I would echo what the mayor mentioned. I've heard it said before that, and I'm new to council, right? So these guys have years in the city itself has years of experience with this. That, we've added stuff and we just haven't quite we haven't gotten there yet, right? Like we haven't accomplished what we wanted to by adding people. So I think that with this, I would also love to see how you get there, right? Like just written out a solid plan of what we're gonna look like in 4 years,
Okay. Anything else? Any questions for anyone here tonight? All right. Got what you needed?
We do, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Council.
Well, that completes all the items that we had for the open session tonight. Any council members have any announcements that they'd like to make? I come with a list. Just a couple quick. As everybody can see, work continues on the Gateway feature. That feature has been, work's been stalled, I guess is probably the proper word for it. Waiting for the boards to come in and the wood features to come in. And once those come in, they're like within the next week, they should be in. And they'll have a crane that'll go out there and install them, and then they'll continue with progress on the Gateway feature. But we should anticipated to see those boards come in next week and the fence railing and to start to see progress again on the Gateway feature. Second announcement, City of Fair Oaks Ranch Police Department invites you and your furry friends to the Pup Timber Protection Day, which is a fun, pet-friendly event to keep our community's pets safe. This is scheduled on Saturday, September 6th. It'll occur from 9 to 12, and it'll be right here at the Fair Oaks Ranch City Hall parking lot. What they'll have is Protect Your Pet mobile clinic will be here. They'll offer low-cost vaccines. Great time to get your dogs registered with the city. They'll have adoptable pets here, browse themed vendors, local businesses, and they'll also have a photo booth where you can get your picture taken with your pets. Pets that are looking at dogs and cats, come up on September 6th, and let's have a great time here in the parking lot. And also on September 6th, City of Fair Oaks Ranch Homeowners Association will be celebrating its 50th anniversary. The association was formed in 1975. They were instrumental in transforming what a working ranch at the time into the thriving residential community that we see today. For 5 decades, Fort Hall has been governed and primarily operated by resident volunteers whose dedication, leadership, and service have laid the foundation for what we see as part of Fair Oaks Ranch today. So the city extends its warmest congratulations and deepest gratitude to the Fair Oaks Ranch Homeowners Association for 50 years of service and commitment to our community. Scott, anything else?
Nothing further from me.
Okay. Amanda, as part of this meeting, anything we missed or got everything you need? As part of City Council, we will go into executive session tonight. We have 2 items to cover. Pursuant to Section 551.101 of the Texas Open Meetings Act and the Texas Government Code, a quorum of the governing body hereby convenes into closed session under Section 551.071, consultation with an attorney to discuss legal requirements necessary to contract for fire and emergency medical services, and under Section 551.074, personal matters to perform the annual evaluation of the city manager. Amanda, I have the time now is 8:15, and we are moving into executive session. Amanda, I have the time now, can you hear me? I have the time now is 9:41. We are back in open session. During the time that we were in executive session, we did have a discussion on the city manager's evaluation. Council is looking to modify the city manager's contract. The modification is to take Chapter 14, which covers termination and resignation currently in the employment agreement, and create a separate agreement solely on termination and resignation. There are no changes to the specifications on the termination and resignation from the employment agreement to this separate agreement. This item basically creates a separate contract on termination and resignation for the city manager. Any questions from council? And nobody here tonight. Motion, then can I get a motion to approve a termination and resignation agreement for the city manager? Scott and Emily, a second. Any other discussion from council? Motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved. Amanda, that's all we had on the agenda for tonight. Is there anything that we missed or anything we need to go back and cover, or got everything you need? Scott, from you, anything else you need?
Nothing further.
Amanda, the time now is 9:43 and we are adjourned.